Dick Butkus was ready for the Minnesota Vikings on September 26th. Though off-season knee surgery has hampered his mobility, he is still the game's best linebacker. Aside from Butkus, Coach Jim Dooley's problems are so great he should have been named Tom. Then he could hang down his head and cry, as the song goes. Dooley's other star, Gale Sayers, is not recovered from knee surgery. And then there was the quarterback dilemma. Classy Jack Concannon started the season perhaps only by default. Considered a better runner than passer, Concannon beat out Big Bobby Douglas, whose arm is so strong he can't seem to control it, and who some say is destined to be a tight end. Then there is clever Kent Nix. Clever because he joined the Bears after his career seemed at a dead end. Nix came off the bench to win the Bears opener and may have found a home. Viking coach Bud Grant had reason to smile before the game, although this was a rare moment indeed. Grant's Vikings won their opener with the Lions and with an easy schedule could return to the Super Bowl to redeem themselves for 1969's loss to the Chiefs. The Vikings are a defensive powerhouse, with All-Pros Alan Page and Carl Eller the keys to their intimidating success. Offensively, they're not as consistent. Gary Kawazu has not looked that impressive, nor is their ground game. But with a defense that last year scored almost as many touchdowns as the offense, the Vikings could not help but feel secure as they prepared to face the Bears at home. I'm Bob Delaney, and this is the NFL Game of the Week, the Vikings versus the Bears. The Vikings and Bears have a history of bone-bruising, spine-snapping confrontations. Last Sunday's game was to follow the pattern. In a scoreless first quarter, defense was the secret word. Number 26, Clint Jones, had some early success running, but he soon was stifled. On the last play, isolate rookie cornerback Charlie Ford, number 32. He stopped this play and was to be a key figure in today's game. Gary Kawazu tried to throw early on the Bears, but was unable to generate any kind of drive. The Bears have had the reputation of being an easy mark against the pass, but their linebackers are agile, mobile, hostile, and good, and shut off the short passing game. Of course, Big Daddy Bear, Mr. Butkus, was there for any type of play, as the Vikings never passed midfield in the quarter. Kawazu tried to work on rookie cornerback Ford, but here in a zone, Ford let the receiver go and waited. The pass was far overthrown, right into the hands of Ron Smith to give the Bears an early break. Smith gives the Bears secondary experience and speed at free safety. However, Jack Concannon and the Bears' offense could not make porridge out of the break. In fact, throughout the half, the Bears' offense could not get rolling. The Vikings' defense was too strong for them. They tried to pass, and the Viking defenders coughed the ball out of their arms, although this turnover did not result in a score. Classy Jack finally penetrated midfield on a pass to Bob Wallace. But on the very next play, brand new baby Bear Jim Grabowski was rocked and gave up the football to Minnesota to set up the first scoring drive of the game. The first play after the fumble recovery almost saw the Vikings offense do the same. Cracked hard by Smith, Oscar Reed fumbled, but Bob Grimm kept possession for the Vikings. 2 plays later, it was 4th and 2 on their own 36. The Vikings went for it and made it. It was a guts call, but it worked and seemed to spark the till now listless offense. They began to carve out respectable advances. On the final play of the quarter, Coazzo hit flanker Bob Grimm for 10 under the Bears' zone. On the first play of the second quarter, behind the protection of Grady Alderman, number 67, Coazzo went to Grimm again. The NFL's leading receiver on opening day, Bob Grimm has recaptured the starting role he lost to John Henderson last year. Then there was a pause in the action while George Seals said hello to Mick Tingelhoff. Then Grimm's fairy tale resumed. 3rd and 8 on the Bears' 19. Coazzo to Grimm again under the zone. 1st and goal on the 5. One play later, after a beautiful play fake to Osborne, Coazzo fittingly ended the drive by going to Grimm. Defenders Smith and Joe Taylor worked Grimm, and Grimm was in for a touchdown. On a repeat, watch number 51 read the play. Butkus isn't fooled by the play fake, but just can't cover the whole field. Grimm's score and the conversion made it 7-0 midway through the second quarter. The rest of the period saw the Vikings defense continue to shut out Chicago, although Ron Smith almost broke the kickoff. Classy Jack continued to feel the pressure of Eller, Marshall, Larson, and Page. The Bears picked up 22 yards rushing and 73 yards passing in the half. Obviously, they missed Sayers on the ground. In the air, the key is to stop last year's NFC leading receiver, Dick Gordon. Give him short stuff, stop him long. The Vikings did this and came up with a turnover in the process as Carl Kasulke picked off an attempted pass for Gordon. But the Vikings, too, were unable to move the ball. It was like putting 2 schools of piranha in a tank and blowing a whistle. The Vikings' defensive performance thus far was not surprising. The Bears was, as the Vikings could total but 100 yards in the half. With 2 minutes to go, Jack Concannon came in for his last series of the half. At first, Grabowski and number 34 Bill Tucker tried to run out the clock, but then Classy Jack decided to go for the score. Concannon, in the past a scrambler, has been ordered to stay in the pocket this year. But against the Vikings, you have to scramble once in a while at least. It didn't work. Then he tried to cross up the Vikings on a trap up the middle, but shy was caught by Eagles castoff Carl Gersbach. The rest of the drive consisted of 3 attempted passes, all of which failed to connect. Concannon and the Bears offense had yet to figure out how to deal with the NFL's best defense. However, the Vikings had been ineffective too in the first half, and the game was far from over. But the Bears had not beaten the Vikings since 1968, and as they went into the locker room down 7-0, it didn't seem as if today would be the day. The second half began with the Vikings out in front 7-0 and confident of increasing their lead. But it was Chicago who drew first blood. Dick Gordon, last year's leading receiver in all of pro football, took a flat pass from Concannon and was forced out of bounds, but not before getting a first down. Then Concannon went to Cyril Pinder on a flare, and the former Eagle made it over midfield into Viking territory. 2 plays later, with 3rd and 4, Concannon, with plenty of time, went to his ace again, and Gordon's catch brought the ball to the Minnesota 31 for a second Chicago first down. But there, the Bear attack stalled when Jim Marshall brought Concannon down for a loss of 6 yards. It was one of 4 sacks for Minnesota's famous front 4 today. Matt Percival trotted on field and calmly booted a 45-yard field goal. In all of Metropolitan Stadium, only one fan seemed pleased. The Viking defense had stiffened, but the Bears were finally on the board 7-3. Minnesota's first series of the half began auspiciously when Gary Coazzo speared his new starting tight end, Stu Voigt, for a 19-yard gain to midfield. The Viking quarterback lost no time taking advantage of the momentum. He passed to Bob Grimm on the Chicago 12, and the flanker went the remainder of the distance in his own inimitable style. A repeat of this play from the ground reveals Coazzo kept both his setbacks in the backfield, but didn't need them either as blockers or safety valve receivers. He simply let fly to Grimm, who had badly beaten rookie Charlie Ford. Ford is one of the many boys from Beaumont, Texas, in the National Football League. The incredible total from this tiny town is 16 on NFL rosters. But Minneapolis and St. Paul are fanatic football towns too, and so rabid that even extra points are sometimes exciting. The Vikings appeared to have things well in hand, 14-3. Chicago came roaring right back when Jim Grabowski took a screen and raced 25 yards down the left sideline to the Minnesota 35. On 3rd down, however, Concannon's rollout pass to George Farmer was too deep in the end zone, and the ensuing field goal attempt was no good, so Minnesota took over again with their lead intact. Any doubts any of the 47,900 Viking fans might have had on this mild Minnesota Sunday were likely dispelled on the home club's next series. Gary Coazzo stepped into his pocket and rifled a strike to Stu Voigt in front of Charlie Ford. Again, Minnesota had been able to exploit the Chicago zone defense. Then, for the first time in the second half, Coazzo stayed on the ground. Jim Lindsay, following his interference beautifully, picked his way for 13 yards and a second straight Viking first down. But here, the Bear defense held fast when on 3rd down, a pass for Dave Osborne was broken up by the veteran Ron Smith. Minnesota had to settle for Fred Cox's 14-yard field goal, but the Vikings seemed safely out in front, 17-3. Then, Chicago began to control the football and the game. Using fullback Jim Grabowski, number 33, as the main weapon, Jack Concannon and the Bears had the ball for 15 plays and over 5 minutes from the end of the 3rd quarter to the start of the 4th. During this steady drive, Concannon managed to curb his penchant for throwing long and had his team moving on a mixture of runs and short, quick passes to the flat. Then came the most notable play of the game, and ironically, it was an incompletion. Watch Carl Eller, number 81, at the top of the screen blow in on Concannon. Though he got his pass off, it was behind his receiver. It was also the last pass Jack Concannon would throw today. Warming up on the sidelines was number 16, Kent Nix. Chicago coach Jim Dooley calls Nix his relief quarterback. Theoretically, he's the third stringer behind Concannon and Bobby Douglas. Fortunately, Concannon was able to leave the field under his own power, but he had his team driving for the goal. The big question was whether Nix, a reject from the Pittsburgh Steelers, would be able to sustain the momentum. He needed only one play to prove it. Dick Gordon took Nix's pass over the middle and slanted in from the 20 to give the Bears their first touchdown. Number 16 had finished the job for number 11 in spectacular fashion. Minnesota 17, Chicago 10, with 8.5 minutes remaining in the final period. Trailing by just 7 points, Chicago on their next series stalled on the enemy 40, where for the second time today, school teacher Mac Percival belted a long-distance field goal squarely through the uprights. The Bears now trailed by merely 4 points, and the momentum clearly was theirs. With little over 3 minutes left in the game, it was up to the Viking offense to reverse the trend. Coazzo and company never had a chance as the charged-up Bear defense, led by Ed Obradovich, Willie Holman, and George Seals, smothered the Viking quarterback each time he handled the ball. With under 3 minutes left, Chicago took over on offense, and Kent Nix remained at the helm. From the Minnesota 45, Nix aimed for Bob Wallace and got him for 26 big yards through somewhat devious methods. A repeat of this key play shows that linebacker Roy Winston tipped the pass, changing its path into the hands of Wallace. The Bears had a big break, and the ball on the Viking 19 with less than 2 minutes left. First down, Nix tried for Dick Gordon in the middle, but incomplete. A repeat reveals Nix under heavy pressure from Eller and Page. A tip by Carl Kasulke and close coverage by number 45, Ed Shirachman. The vaunted Viking defense had its back to the wall. Second down, 2 minutes, 30 seconds left, and Nix again found Gordon blanketed by Shirachman and threw the ball away rather than risk interception. Third down, time running out rapidly. Nix threw deep in the end zone for Gordon again and hit him for the touchdown. On the third try, All-Pro Dick Gordon had gotten the score to put his team ahead for the first time today. Another look at this stunning touchdown reveals the Bear offensive line allowed no penetration from the Viking front four. Nix had plenty of time to wait for Gordon to come open, and his pass was perfectly placed over Paul Krause into the hands of Gordon, who just stayed in bounds. The joyous Bears had just scored 17 points in 6.5 minutes against the most highly regarded defense in the National Football League. With still 1:42 remaining, the Vikings still had time for one last score. Mac Percival boomed his kickoff into the end zone. It was taken out by workhorse Bob Grimm, who managed to both get out of bounds and still pick up 29 yards. Viking coach Bud Grant stuck with his starter Gary Coazzo, and former Eagle Norm Snead remained on the bench to watch Dave Osborne drop a pass with urging from defender Charlie Ford. Second down, Coazzo under heavy pressure bounced a pass to Jim Lindsay at the left sideline. Third down, 1 minute 27 remaining. Coazzo again was rushed heavily by the Bear defense, and this time pushed a pass to safety valve Bill Brown, who went out of bounds. 1:21 left in the game. Fourth down, last chance for Minnesota. Coazzo was again rushed heavily, and his underthrown pass almost intercepted by the omnipresent rookie Charlie Ford. Chicago's defense had held. Another look at this play shows pressure from Bill Staley and Willie Holman resulted in an underthrown ball that Ford had right in his hands. With a minute to go, the Bears easily ran out the clock and ensured one of the greatest comeback triumphs in Chicago history. It became official when Kent Nix fell on the ball for the last play of the game. It gave the Vikings their first loss at home since 1968 and virtually negated their great victory over the Lions the week before. In Minnesota's customary first-place position in the Central Division are the undefeated Chicago Bears, led not by Gale Sayers, but a third-string quarterback who for the second straight week entered the game in the nix of time and passed his team to victory. Perhaps if Kent Nix continues his last-minute heroics, Jim Dooley might promote him to the second string.